Welcome to Unit 15, an introduction to trend. Okay, so we've briefly discussed what trend is with trend lines. This is probably going to take a little more time because in the later volumes, like volume 2 and 3, I discuss in much more detail trend and why it's so important. It's probably the most important thing to understand. It's the most basic concept, and it's a place or a point of reference to start all of your trading analysis. And if you get this wrong, it ends up creating a lot of problems. But I don't want to get too much into the specifics and the detail in the first volume here, because this is more of a foundation where I want you to just start focusing and being aware of what it is. And then if you end up purchasing the later volumes, you delve into much more detail of how it all works. This is just the basic foundation that we're going to build on later. Like I said, it's the most important thing to learn, but it's probably one of the most difficult to apply. So what is a trend? And an easy way for me to explain it is it's a leg. If you think of it in the way humans have legs, we can break the trend down into specific parts, which I'm going to break down now. And I'm going to just start labeling these in what I see. So if you have a human leg, what would you have? You would have a hip. This is very dumbed down, and you have the actual the thigh or the limb, whatever you want to call it, and then you have the foot. Okay, so being that we're trading here, so what is this actually? This would be distribution. This would be our trend phase, and this would be our accumulation. Okay, so there's different ways to think about this as we introduce more advanced concepts. We're just visualizing it as a person or a human would have, things that we can relate it to. Essentially what ends up happening is during the trend, and I'm not getting into this, we'll get into this a little bit later, but you're losing levels of support and resistance, and I would just roughly draw them so that you guys can see, and I'm not trying to be accurate. I just want to put it out there just to make it known that this is happening, and I'm just drawing them kind of haphazardly where I see they could be. And this is just areas where, if you notice, we're losing and gaining supports as we're forming trends. So prices bouncing off levels and gaining and losing levels. We're later going to start learning how all of this works. But now what I want you to see is that there are trends within trend. So if this is our bigger trend, there are trends within trend. So here would be another version. So we just have all these little trends that get created on smaller time frames within trend itself. So trend within trend. Okay? So they're becoming segmented. And this happens because momentum is being shifted and levels are being tested on various time frames. In this example, we're using a monthly chart. But the smaller time frames end up having to offset that momentum generated by higher time frames, and because it takes longer and you have levels that are more significant than others, you end up getting segmentation in trends. And obviously, if you just think logically, the market can't just go down and it can't just go up. Like, there have to be trading that happens, which means that there's going to be people that are trying to buy and sell at various points within the market. And in order to have a market, we need to have an ability for everyone to get in and out. Things don't just go straight down or straight up. So you end up creating trends within trends on various time frames because of that momentum. So that's the one thing I want you to kind of pay attention to, understanding that you're going to have trend within one candle. So let's just take an example here. Let's just pick this candle right here. When is this? 2000. Let's just see if I can go back that far on the daily for a second. And let's just see kind of what this looks like if I can get back this far. Okay, I can. So notice, guys, this was the monthly candle. Notice the trends that occurred within this monthly candle. That was one candle on the monthly, and you've got various trends inside of it that are occurring. And then we could continually to go down in a fractal type nature where we just continue to get lower and lower in time frames, and you're going to see more trends develop on the smaller time frames within the larger. So I want you to get that idea that there are trends within trends, sort of this idea of accumulation and distribution followed by your trending phase sort of creates the entirety of the trend process. You have levels of support and resistance that are getting created within this process. And I'm not trying to be very exact. You guys get the idea. is all of this stuff is happening at the same time simultaneously to produce what you see on the chart. That's all I want you to take away from this for now, and we're going to eventually break into this in more detail into how to discover and how to find when a trend is going to change, levels that get tested, momentum change, etc. All these things that we've been kind of getting our feet wet. We're going to get more into depth in that in the later volumes should you choose to continue to those volumes as well. So for that, familiarize yourself, read the text and the pictures also that I have listed that will help you sort of understand and realize the significance of trend versus time frames, the segmentation, and how all of that works.